Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching NET25 World News. Here are tonight's top stories. Boeing Starliner spacecraft has successfully returned to Earth after a 3-month test mission. The Senate and the Philippine National Police are both seeking custody of Alice Guo, a former mayor, and returned to the Philippines on Friday after hiding in Indonesia for weeks. Super Typhoon Yagi, the most powerful storm in Asia this year, is barreling towards Vietnam after wreaking havoc in southern China. A 15-year-old student at Joppatown High School in Maryland has died after being shot by another student inside a school bathroom. Pakistani citizen living in Canada was been arrested on Wednesday and charged with planning an attack in New York City in support of ISIS. Boeing Starliner spacecraft has successfully returned to Earth after a 3-month test mission. The uncrewed capsule landed in New Mexico late Friday, marking the conclusion of a flight delayed by technical issues.
Really interesting view of this coming down from in the vicinity of the landing site. Again, this is a view from a little lower than the WB-57 we were seeing.
NASA's astronaut Butch Wilmer and Suni Williams, who were originally scheduled to return with Starliner, will remain on the International Space Station until next year due to safety concerns.
I think we're looking at the data, and we view the data and the uncertainty that's there differently than Boeing does. It's not a matter of trust, it's our technical expertise and our experience that we have to balance, and I think Ken said it, we balance risk across everything, not just the Starliner piece. So I don't see it as a trust issue at all.
The spacecraft's autonomous landing was a critical milestone,
Touchdown.
But its certification
Starliner
for
is
future
back
missions
on Earth.
remains
That landing
uncertain.
coming at
Despite Boeing's
11:01
confidence in the
and
spacecraft's
35
safety,
seconds
NASA
Central Time,
decided to bring
10:01
Starliner back
and
without
31
its
seconds
crew.
Mountain Time
The
at
agency
White Sands
cited
Space
concerns about a critical
At the US Army's
braking
machine here
maneuver
in, Mission
that the
Control, we're
spacecraft would
pulling right now
need
to
to
see
perform
if
during
is
its
ready
return
power
to
off
Earth.
the vehicle.
So you have to really dig in to understand what the baseline risk change is. And that's what the team has been working so hard this last couple of months. For me, one of the really important factors is that we just don't know how much we can use the thrusters on the way back home before we encounter a problem because of the heating effects that happened on the way uphill.
The Senate and the Philippine National Police are both seeking custody of Alice Guo, a former mayor who returned to the Philippines on Friday after hiding in Indonesia for weeks. Upon her arrival at Ninoy Aquino International Airport, Guo was taken under police escort to the regional trial court in Capas, Tarlac, where she faces graft charges. Since Guo did not post bail, the court ordered her detention at the PNP custodial facility in Camp Crame. Meanwhile, Senator Risa Ontiveros, chair of the Senate Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations and Gender Equality, requested that Guo be allowed to attend a committee hearing on Monday. The committee is probing criminal activities tied to the Philippine Offshore Gaming Operators, or POGOS, a matter Guo had testified on multiple times. Guo, who has denied involvement in a POGOS site in Bamban, Tarlac, had stopped attending the hearings, leading the Senate to issue a warrant for her arrest.
Ang akala ko nga ito ay overnight lamang dito sa police, no? I was of the impression ito'y malilipat na talaga sa BGMP o sa lahat. Pero sana malaman ng kababayan natin, ang nag-determine kung saan siya, hindi rin po kami, ang korte, ang judge. Siya magsasabi kung saan, kung ikaw dito o dito, kaya ang maganda siguro, ang Senado at ang Korte ay mag-usap na lang kung how to go about this. Basta kami, susundin lang po namin kung anong sabihin ng otoridad. No? At I want to make that very clear. No? So, in closing, ito lang masasabi ko sa ating mga kababayan. Nagpunta ako sa Indonesia, hindi ko alam kung makukuha ko si Alice ko o hindi. Kung hindi siya makuha, katakot-takot na kritisismo makukuha, magagawa, pero naibalik po namin siya. That's the most important thing, na ibalik namin si Alice Go. For me, that is already mission accomplished.
Na meron po akong death threats po at humingi po ako ng tulong po sa kanila.
Yung nga ang sinasabi namin kay Alice, huwag kang matakot. Huwag kang matakot. Kung ikaw natatakot sa buhay mo, we will provide you all of the security ng kailangan mo. Importante lang, ituro mo ang mga taong malalaking ito.
Abalos also noted that Indonesian authorities had given the team a limited window to retrieve Guo, or she would have been released. He explained that the private plane used for the operation was borrowed from an unnamed friend.
Alice Go is in the custody of the Indonesian police. And this is because of the police operation. At ito sinabi niya sa akin importante. If we cannot go there by 1 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock, they would release Alice Go. So medyo kinabahan ako noon. I mean, I was still at Naga and so sabi ko, I have to find some airfare, not only there, but going back. Kasi dapat may uwi ko kaagad. Ang hirap. So, ang ginawa ko na lang dito, nagtanong ako ng kung sino mga kaibigan pwedeng tumulong, just to, and may tumulong sa akin yung kaibigan ko si Michael. And pinahiram niya aeroplano niya, just so makaalis kaagad ako, because time is of the essence. Ayoko mangyaring si Alice ko ay mapawalan ng Indonesian authority.
President Marcos Jr. addressed the controversy surrounding a selfie photo of Alice Guo with government officials, describing it as part of the country's new culture. The image, which shows a smiling Guo making a peace sign while seated next to Philippine National Police Chief Romel Marbil and Interior Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr., has drawn heavy criticism. However, President Marcos downplayed the issue, stating,
that is part of the new culture now, na nagpapakuhalaga ng kahit ano. Kasi po-post nila, tignan mo, nakasama ako dito sa team na nag-aresto sa ganyan-ganyan. That's, ang tawag natin sa Pilipinas, we are the selfie capital of the world, di ba? Hindi nag-selfie, hindi mo naman pigilan ng tao na ngumiti. So, they just had a selfie. I don't think there's much more to it than that. Nagpa-selfie sila.
Abalos and Marbil had led the team that brought Guo back from Indonesia, where she had fled. Another photo surfaced showing Guo smiling with National Bureau of Investigation personnel inside what looked like a van. When asked about the photo, Abalos explained he didn't notice Guo's actions because he was focused on the camera. Guo, who was present during the briefing, said she felt happy and safe when she saw Abalos and Marbil.
Sinabihan niya ako, at nakita niyo naman siguro, part of the video was there. Meron daw siyang death threats. And all this time, kinuha ni General Marbil ang phone niya and he's trying to record. Kasi parang ganun yata ang protocol sa police, mas record it or something. Pero ayaw ni Alice Go na recorded dahil wala raw siyang lawyer or ganyan-ganyan. But going through the protocol of the police, they want everything documented. Doon pumasok, may kumuha ng picture. Nung nandun kami sa private room, if you're going to notice that picture, it was not a selfie, ha? Inuulit ko, it was not a selfie. Kinunan po kami, nakatingin ako sa camera. It's for purpose probably of documentation po ito, of that private meeting.
Super Typhoon Yagi, the most powerful storm in Asia this year, is barreling towards Vietnam after wreaking havoc in southern China.
Standing on the rooftop right now. It's a dust storm. The typhoon has hit us with the force I've never seen before. The wind is howling and the rain is coming down. Buildings are being damaged and trees are being uprooted. The power has gone out in many parts of the city. Vietnam's coastal city of Haiphong, an industrial hub with a population of 2 million that hosts factories from foreign multinationals and local car makers in us. It's so far along the hardest hit by the wind. Parts of the city experienced power outages on Saturday. Glass windows are shattered and debris is scattered everywhere. The typhoon is so powerful that it's even affecting the nearby islands. The winds have reached speeds of the busiest. Schools have also been closed in 12 northern provinces, including the capital, Hanoi. Reporting from Hanoi, Vietnam, this is Ria Ramos for NET25 World News.
In the wake of a tragic school shooting, a father and son faced the unimaginable. The boy, just 14, was charged with murder and his father was accused of enabling the tragedy. The case has sparked a national debate about parental responsibility and gun safety.
All right, good morning, sir. Are you Mr. Colt Gray?
14-year-old Colt Gray, the suspected Georgia high school shooter, made his first appearance in state court, where he faces murder charges as an adult. The judge on Friday told Gray he was charged with 4 counts of felony murder and that he could face life in prison if convicted by a jury. The shackled teenager did not enter a plea as victims' families sat behind him in the first row of the courtroom. Later that morning, his father, Colin Gray, came before the same judge on charges of enabling his son to obtain the semi-automatic rifle used in the shooting.
You're currently charged with 2 counts of felony murder in the second degree. You're charged with 4 counts of felony involuntary manslaughter. You're charged with 8 counts of felony cruelty to children in the second degree.
The judge said the charges carry a total maximum penalty of 180 years in prison. Shackled and wearing a jail-striped shirt and pants, Colin Gray spent most of the hearing rocking back and forth.
I would like for him to sign it.
Investigators say Colt Gray used an AR platform-style weapon to carry out Wednesday's attack at Appalachia High School, where 2 teachers and 2 14-year-old students were killed. Officials have yet to comment on what may have motivated the first mass shooting of the new school year.
A 15-year-old student at Joppatown High School in Maryland has died after being shot by another student inside a school bathroom.
All right, we'll talk to you right over. I regret to be standing here again with the unfortunate news. As we broke from the last press conference, I was informed that our victim in this case did not survive the shooting. Our 15-year-old shooting victim was transported to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. The victim is Curtis Grant, Warren Curtis Grant, again a 15-year-old student at the school, lived in the Edgewood area of our community. We are not still releasing the name of the suspect in this case. He is, as I said, a 16-year-old, also a student at the school. He has yet to be charged, but will be charged, and at the time those charges are preferred as an adult, we will release the name of the suspect. It was asked earlier, our prior involvement in just a quick search of the CAD, the computer-aided dispatch system that the Sheriff's Office uses. We've had more than 10 incidents since 2022 where the suspect was either the victim, witness, or the suspect in an incident handled by the Harford County Sheriff's Office. But I caution, other than that little tidbit of information, this investigation is very active and very early on. But we did have a shooting that took place in the school. 1 suspect, 1 victim. At 12:36 again was the initial call. There was the SRO assigned to the school who was in the school who did not hear the shot as the principal, I apologize, the principal of the school also was in the school at the time, did not hear the shot, but heard the commotion that resulted from it. Both the principal and our SRO responded to the scene. Nurses, the shooting took place in a first-floor men's bathroom. After the initial shooting, the suspect left the bathroom, left the school. Other individuals in the school brought the victim out into the hallway, where he was immediately attended to by nurses as part of the public school system. Within the first 2 minutes, we had our first response deputy on the scene. Within 15 minutes, more than 100 police officers were here. Thanks to our community members, the suspect in our case was apprehended within minutes. He's a 16-year-old student at the school. This was his first day, although we're 4 days into the school year. This was his first day in the school. and this altercation apparently took place in the bathroom that resulted in a single shot, what we believe to be a single shot being fired, which struck the victim. He went a short distance away to some houses. They also called the police, called dispatch. Information was given to responding deputies who were able to encounter him very quickly and make an arrest.
The U.S. Justice Department has announced that a planned terror attack in New York City has been stopped. Authorities say the suspect, 20-year-old Mohammed Yajeb Khan, a Pakistani citizen living in Canada, was allegedly plotting a mass shooting at a Jewish center in Brooklyn. He targeted October 7th, marking 1 year the Hamas attack on Israel, aiming to carry out the latest or the largest attack on U.S. soil since 9/11. Khan reportedly began posting pro-ISIS content on social media in November, unknowingly communicating with undercover law enforcement officers. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland stated Khan's goal was to kill as many Jews as possible in the name of ISIS. The FBI worked with Canadian authorities to apprehend Khan in Quebec just as he was believed to be heading towards the U.S. border. One local resident described seeing police arrest Khan.
Saw, the SWAT team vans and the army and the guys all in camouflage with the M16s, and there was long rifles. Everybody had sidearms. A woman was handcuffed on the front porch, a young woman with long dark hair. She was very thin. And then they had a gentleman sitting on our front lawn, handcuffed behind him. They said that it was confidential and they couldn't tell me what was going on.
Khan was being charged with attempting to provide material support to terrorists. Khan faces up to 20 years in prison. A bomb threat that forced an India-bound Vistara Airlines flight to make an emergency landing in Turkey on Friday has been declared a hoax. Turkish officials said a suspicious message was found in a plane lavatory and prompting a full search and evacuation of all passengers and crew. The flight from Mumbai to Frankfurt was diverted to Erzurum, a city in eastern Turkey. After a thorough investigation, local authorities confirmed there was no threat to the aircraft or its passengers. The airport was briefly closed for safety reasons, but has since reopened for normal operations. Vistara Airlines said in a statement that all necessary checks were conducted and the passengers and crew have been cleared to continue their journey. The airline is arranging a replacement flight to take them to their final destination in Frankfurt. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin cautioned that there is no one capability that would single-handedly shift the war in Ukraine in Kiev's favor. And this follows President Volodymyr Zelensky's renewed request for the West to allow Ukraine to use long-range weapons to strike targets inside Russia. At a meeting of Ukraine's allies at Ramstein U.S. base in Germany, Zelensky repeated his call for more long-range missiles and the lifting of restrictions on hitting airfields and other targets in Russia. Austin reaffirmed that the U.S. and its allies will continue to support Ukraine, announcing an additional $250 million in U.S. security aid.
Time is of the essence, especially with winter on its way. And we must all step up our support, and quickly. So I'm pleased to say that President Biden will announce today an additional $250 million security assistance package for Ukraine. It will surge more capabilities to meet Ukraine's evolving requirements and will deliver them at the speed of war.
However, he downplayed the idea that Western weapons targeting deep inside Russia would be a game changer, noting that Russia has already repositioned aircraft beyond the range of U.S. supplied missiles.
We've said all along, Uta, there's no one capability that will in and of itself be decisive in this campaign. You know, we had this discussion about tanks. We had this discussion about other capabilities, and each time we point out that it's not just one thing, it's a combination of capabilities and how you integrate those capabilities to achieve objectives.
Austin also emphasized that Ukraine has its own capabilities, including drones, to strike targets beyond the reach of Western systems like Atacam and Storm Shadow missiles.
And we will continue to focus on Ukraine's priority capability needs. So we're providing armored vehicles and fires to support Ukrainian troops on the front lines. And our security assistance includes air defense systems to protect Ukrainian civilians and ward off Russian attacks against Ukraine's power grid. But the Kremlin continues to put Ukraine's cities in the crosshairs.
A Turkish-American woman has died after being shot by Israeli troops during a protest in the Israeli-occupied West Bank. Her death has sparked outrage, with Turkey blaming the Israeli government, while the U.S. has called for a full investigation. Take a look.
Palestinian paramedics in the Israeli-occupied West Bank carried the body of a Turkish-American woman to an ambulance Friday, after she was shot by Israeli troops while taking part in a protest against settlement expansion. She later died of her wounds, according to Palestinian and Turkish officials. Turkey's foreign ministry said Ayşenur Ezgi Agi was shot in the head and blamed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government for her death. There was no immediate comment on the incident from Netanyahu's office. Israel's military said troops had fired toward a male who posed a threat by hurling rocks at soldiers. The head of the hospital where Agi was taken told Reuters she arrived there in critical condition, with a serious head injury.
We were trying to save her, but unfortunately we couldn't revive her heart because of her severe injury, and then we announced she lost her life.
The Palestinian Authority's official news agency said the incident occurred during a regular protest march by activists in Beta, a village that has seen repeated attacks on Palestinians by Jewish settlers. Israeli activist Ron Nauz was there.
We came here to stand with solidarity with the people of Beta against the expropriation of the lands of them, the mountain called Jabal Sabih, in order to build a colony on it, the colony of Eviatar. We came here and peaceful demonstrations was violently oppressed by tear gas, by live ammunition.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken addressed the death of an American abroad.
We deplore this tragic loss. Now, the most important thing to do is to gather the facts. Let's find out exactly what happened, and we will draw the necessary conclusions and consequences from that.
The White House said it was deeply disturbed by the death of the dual U.S.-Turkish citizen and called on Israel to investigate.
A New York judge has postponed former U.S. President Donald Trump's sentencing in his hush money case until after the November 5 election. The judge cited a desire to avoid any perception of political influence. Trump, the Republican presidential nominee, was originally set to be sentenced on September 18, but his legal team argued for the delay, calling the timing politically motivated.
Big news today is that the Manhattan DA witch hunt against me has been postponed because everyone realizes that there was no case because I did nothing wrong. It's a witch hunt. It's an attack by my political opponents in Washington, D.C. And Comrade Kamala Harris and radical left opponents for purposes of election interference. That's all that was.
The New York judge in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial delayed his sentencing until after the November 5th election. In a letter detailing his decision on Friday, Justice Juan Merchan said, quote, "The imposition of sentence will be adjourned to avoid any appearance, however unwarranted, that the proceeding has been affected by or seeks to affect the approaching presidential election in which the defendant is a candidate." Anna Kominski is a legal analyst and professor at New York Law School.
The reason why I think the judge delayed is because the judge really had to delay. And the reason he had to delay was not necessarily because of the election itself, but rather because of the timing of the events. So the way that the scheduling was set up, the judge was supposed to issue his decision with respect to the immunity outstanding immunity issue only 2 days before the sentencing itself. And that really does not afford the parties time to respond to and take appropriate action with respect to that decision. In addition, after Trump asked for a delay, the prosecutor's office did not oppose that. And when the prosecutor's office doesn't oppose something, in essence, what it's saying is, we agree with what the defendant's asking for.
The Republican nominee for president had previously been scheduled to be sentenced on September 18th. Merchan said he now planned to sentence Trump on November 26th, unless the case is dismissed before then. Trump's lawyers had pushed for delaying the sentencing, citing, quote, naked election interference objectives. A Trump campaign spokesperson said after the ruling that the case should be dismissed altogether. Trump was convicted in May of falsifying business records to cover up his then lawyer's $130,000 payment to porn star Stormy Daniels for her silence before the 2016 election about a sexual encounter she says she had with Trump a decade earlier. Trump denies the encounter and has vowed to appeal the verdict once he is sentenced.
One of Japan's leading candidates for prime minister has raised concerns over potential U.S. opposition to Nippon Steel's bid to buy U.S. steel. Former Defense Minister Shigeru Ishiba said that any U.S. decision to block the $15 billion deal on national security grounds would be very unsettling and could undermine trust between the two allies. Now, this follows reports that President Joe Biden may move to block the deal, citing risks to U.S. steel supply for critical projects. Ishiba expressed concern over the U.S. invoking national security in dealings with allies, including Japan, and called for sincere dialogue between the two governments.
同盟国に対してそういうことを言う、あるいは同盟の信頼性を損なうようなことを言う、それは本当に正しいことですかってことを日本政府として誠心誠意かつロジカルにお話をすることっていうのは極めて大事なことだと思っています。
Ishiba, a strong contender to lead Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party, is running for leadership later this month. Meanwhile, another candidate, Digital Minister Taro Kono, also weighed in, saying he never anticipated national security concerns over the deal.
We have seen quite a few Japanese corporations taking over American. And I don't think there have been any case of security concerns so far, and I doubt there will be any in the future. So I never imagined that this takeover, someone would say it could be national security issue for the United States. So I'm quite surprised. If this is very political, I don't know if anything could be done, but we all believe the United States has a market-oriented economy. And I mean, Japan and the United States is a good ally. And I didn't see any economic or security threat involved in this takeover. So when I become prime minister, I would try to tap into the American business community.
Kono pledged to raise the issue with the U.S. if he becomes prime minister, stressing the importance of economic discussions between the two nations.
この US スティールの買収だけではない、おそらくこの後も影響が出てくる問題だと思いますから、この買収案件の今後の成否にかかわらず、やっぱり少しこのアメリカの経済をその政権がどう考えるんだっていうところはしっかり意見交換をする必要があると思いますし。
Nippon Steel's bid has faced opposition in the U.S., particularly from labor unions and politicians ahead of the upcoming presidential elections.
U.S. Steel is an historic American company, and it is vital
for our nation to maintain strong American steel companies, and I couldn't agree more with President Biden. U.S. steel should remain American-owned and American-operated.
As AI continues to evolve, the lines between human creativity and machine-generated content are blurring. The Reply AI Film Festival in Venice offered a glimpse into this new frontier, with filmmakers daring to push the boundaries of storytelling. Take a look.
This animated film was screened at the Reply AI Film Festival in Venice, a short film competition that awarded the innovative use of AI and the quality of storytelling. The theme, Synthetic Stories, Human Heart. Filippo Rosante is the CTO of Reply, an international consulting group that works in AI and digital media, and who organized the competition.
We have not seen if those technologies can be used correctly in order to produce, for example, a good story, a good piece of content. We still need, as humanity, to have heroes and to have people that we embody somehow and so on. But so this will not change, honestly. What will change is how we produce content and how we distribute and how we consume content, for sure.
Running during the official Venice Film Festival, the AI Short Film Festival might be expected to ruffle a few feathers. Rosante says they initially struggled to find partners.
Most of them were saying, no, we don't want you, because obviously there is a transition where all the industry is worried about.
Rob Minkoff was one of the festival's judges. He co-directed The Lion King and directed Stuart Little, among other films. He says the technology should be viewed as a new tool for artists.
I think that AI will present a tremendous opportunity, mostly in that you can do things using AI that are not even possible. They're not conceivable or possible to do in any other way. And so I think that that's naturally how things will evolve.
AI was a key concern in last year's Hollywood strike, with actors fearing the technology would make theft of their likeness common or reduce available roles. Actors are also worried about entirely AI-generated actors, or metahumans. On Tuesday, the top award went to Dear Me by Giselle Tong, a poignant narrative exploring a young woman's struggle after her parents' divorce. Rosante says the technology is likely here to stay.
There are, again, people that will always fight back, as always in any kind of transition, and people will be enthusiastic, but it's like a tsunami. You cannot stop it.
NET25, your trusted source for global news, keeping you informed every day. I'm Alma Angeles. We'll see you back Monday. Good night.